Hi, my name is DirectWave and welcome to another video tutorial here at Daily Beats. In today's video, I'm going to do the crash course on DirectWave. DirectWave is a sample-based plugin and is very powerful, and I will teach you how the general interface works and how you can create your own instruments or drum kits, everything inside of DirectWave. So let's start with the tutorial. So the first thing that I'm going to do is load up the DirectWave, and you can find DirectWave here in the sampler section, DirectWave. It's a very simple interface, but we can have a lot of functionality and we can have a lot of tools to manipulate sounds. So basically we have two sections or three sections. This is the main section where you manage your samples. Here we have the effects section, and here we have the browser section. So let's go through each section individually. I will start here with the browser section, and as you can see we have the folders and we have some options here, and we can basically go through every single folder that we have in our system, and you can see that we have parent, we have here the home, and if we click home we will go to this folder here, and this folder has all the instruments that are available in DirectWave. Also, you can download some free DirectWave instruments directly from imageline.com, and I strongly recommend you do that because you will have much more sounds in your system, and I will show you how many you can have in your system. And it's a very nice thing because it will expand the libraries of instruments that you have available on FL Studio if you only are using FL Studio, and if you don't have yet money to buy more plugins from different companies or even FL Studio. So and you can also buy some online content here, and if you click here it will send you to a page where you can download more instruments for DirectWave. So that's basically it. Here in the browser there's not too much that we can go through. It's just a normal browser. We can go inside folders. Let's go for instance to guitars, and you can see here we have the DW logo and it ends with the DWP, which is the extension for DirectWave player. And here, as you can see, I have the full version. If you don't have FL Studio, I think producer up highest two versions of FL Studio, you will have DirectWave player, but in my case I have DirectWave full version basically. So it's a little bit more than just a player. And you just can go here, load samples, or double click here and it will load whatever sound you have here. So let's see. We have here a hard staccato wah guitar, and I could go for something like that, and you just double click on it and it will load the samples that are associated with this preset. And as you can see here, if we go inside we have the samples itself, and as you can see here we have a very big large keyboard, but we only have 9, 12, maybe 20 samples, and those 20 samples are in this case this is let me see, let's go back. Why can't I go back? Parent. Okay, so I think I was in this one. Let's open up this one, and as you can see I have maybe 20 samples or something, and they are all spanned across the full keyboard here. As you can see, the full keyboard has sounds, and I will show you how you can do that and expand your sounds to have the full range of the keyboard with a couple of sounds like that. This allows to have presets with a lower size, but you compromise a little bit on the quality, of course, because you don't have every single key doesn't have a sound. You have a sample for 3 or 4 or more keys or less. It depends on how you define them, and it will have to stretch or pitch up and pitch down the sample itself, which can introduce some artifacts. So if you have the option, if you are creating your own instruments with DirectWave, first of all, you need a full version. But if you have the full version and you want to create some instruments for yourself, you can do that. And I would strongly recommend for you to have a single note for every, or a single sample for every single note. In that case, you will have the highest quality possible for each note. But again, you can see that we have here the folders and the folders with the samples, and then the presets here. And if we go back, we have all, as you can see, all of these samples here are the free ones from ImageLine. And I can go for bass. Actually, I think I was in bass. Amped. Here we have some really nice, some electric guitars. I have some leads maybe. As you can see, we can extend the functionality of FL Studio just with these sounds here. Okay, so this is the browser here. Let's go to Home, and Home brings us to the library, and you can have here the preview, and we can have some options which I will not go through. You can go through them and see what's going on here. So you click here, you can open a folder or a project bank and create program for samples. So let's say you have a bunch of samples from an instrument that you recorded or that you created. You can create a bank from your samples, or a program from samples. And then you can save programs, save banks, and flush everything. It's a basic menu. Then we have this online content, which will go open up the browser and show a page where you can buy more instruments. Then here we have the bank selector, and as you can see, we can select multiple banks. We have up to 16 banks of sounds or programs, let's say. And then we have here some tabs. As you can see here, we have multi-bank, and we can go up to 16. And we have the program tab, where you can put all your samples here, and then we have the library. As you can see, these are the samples or the presets that I downloaded for free from ImageLine, and you can also do that. It's a very nice way to increase the libraries or the sounds that you have on FL Studio for free. And let's go here, and this is to compare, for instance, with the instruments that you have here in the packs. And if you open up, we have a couple of instruments here, which is quite nice that we have these instruments, but you can see we have a much more, let's see, 348 more instruments that you can use for free, basically from ImageLine. So it's a very, very nice thing that you can download, and I strongly recommend you to download that and start using this. You can also compare this DirectWave, for instance, with a very known sampler, which is Contact from Native Instruments. And it works similarly, so you can download, or not download, you can create your own presets with sounds and map those sounds, those samples, to a specific key on your keyboard, or several. In this case here, with DirectWave, you cannot do that, but you can have, for instance, several samples triggering at different velocities, like we saw in the FPC crash course. So this is basically it. To open up a sample from the library, it's the same as here in the DirectWave. You just double click and you open up a program. As you can see, now we have this program here. If we go to the multi-bank, you will see that we have also the project here named MXD lead. And of course, you can change the output, the pitch bend, mod wheel, volume, panning, expression, etc., mood, and everything. So there are a couple of options here, extra options for you to mess with the samples. And here you can see that we have, we have 6 samples. And you can see that these samples are mapped to different areas of the keyboard here. And if we go to the first one, this one here, we can see the size, sample rate, and some information regarding the sample itself. And we can see here that this sample is mapped to this note here, which is A, but I'm not sure if it's A4 or A3, but is from A to A, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, and D. So from A to D, we have this note mapped here. And if you click on the several keys, you see that the pitch is also going up, which means that we have only one sample to 5 or 6 keys, maybe 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 keys. So it means that for each, in this case, for 6 keys, we have one sample. And it means that for every key that we go up or down, we have to pitch up or pitch down the sample. And this, again, can create a little bit of artifacts. So you have to bear in mind if you want to create instruments with this, or you want to create your own sample libraries or programs. But that's basically it. You can create here the samples, and you can expand also the range of the sample. So if I want the sample to have just this note here, you can see that now I click here and it plays the sound. But if I go here, you see that there is no sample associated, so it doesn't play anything. And that's basically it, how it works. You load the sample and then you drag here, you drag here to to define the range of the notes or the keys that you want this sampler to play. And this will automatically pitch up or pitch down the sample based on the notes that you have selected, which is quite nice. Then we have, for instance, this one where you can have from a G sharp until the last note. And as you can see, what I was telling you about the noise and the pitching down the sample a lot, this can create these strange sounds. And this is because of the pitching down. So again, you will always have limitations if you are doing it that way. But again, this is how it works. And that's why I recommend, if you want the highest quality, to have one sound per key or one sample per key. That's basically it. To load samples into DirectWave, you have to, let's go here, let's do flash all, okay? And I will use the sample here from the packs. So let's load the sample here. And now the sample is mapped to all the keys. And I just want this to start, for instance, at C and have it only on C. Actually, this is not the root note of the keyboard, so it was pitching down. Okay, so now we have the kick here and the kick here. So it's the same. And let's do a snare. Actually, let's bring this on. We can load it here, and you see that it loaded pretty much on the full keyboard. So let's go and map this down a little bit like that. So this is actually pitching up a little bit. So what we have to do is select this sample and right click on the key that we want. And now we have the pitch of the note, which is quite nice. If you want to pitch this snare down a little bit, we can right click here, for instance, or actually this was pitch up. Let's do pitch down, which is move on the opposite way. And now we just right click and you see that we have here this reddish color here in this C sharp. And this, when we play the note that is associated with that sample, we see that it's pitched down. So we can go a little bit like that. And actually, let's put it here. Now we can see the full red of the note that is selected. So we have this note selected, which is also the root note for this sample. So we have the kick, the snare, and let's bring a hi-hat. Let's go with this one, okay. Let's do the same thing. Let's drag and drop this, and let's put the hi-hat here. And now if we go to piano roll, now we have a very simple sound here. Okay, let's do that. And this is how simple it is to create your own kits, your own instruments, or whatever you want to create here with with DirectWave. So with that in mind, let's go and move to the last menu or last tab or last section of DirectWave, which is this here, the effect section. So we have 3 tabs here. We have the program, the zone, and the sample. And this is where you can actually create some really interesting things with this plugin, and you can manipulate your samples to have them do whatever you want. As you can see here, we have the program, and this program tab relates to the entire program, not just the samples, the specific samples, as compared with the sample tab, which only works with this sample. And we have to select, for instance, this one or this one to manipulate the sample itself. If we go to the program, we'll manipulate the entire program, the entire set of samples. So we have here the master, and there are some options here. This is basically the volume. So if I lower the volume here, now we see that when we play this pattern that I just created, the volume is very low, and we have to increase it like that. Okay, let's stop this. And then we have here some glide, to glide nodes or to have the nodes glide from one to the other. We have some options here, and these options again are on a program level, on a high level, and not specific samples. And these effects here will be applied to the entire program. So if you want to change to have, for instance, some drive or some distortion here to the program, to the entire program itself, you can go here, enable it, and start adding some compression. And that's basically it. You can have 2 different types of compression, or A and B, and the amount here that we have, LFOs, delay, reverb, and chorus. This is basically it. I'm not going into whatever these plugin or effects are, because it's not the context of this crash course here. Okay, but that's basically it. You can enable and disable LFOs, delay, reverb, and chorus, and some drive here, and also the glide. Then we have the zone section, and you can manipulate here some of the options of the zone that you are working with. I usually don't do too much here, so I will not go into detail because this is a general crash course. It's just to give you an idea of how you can use this. And yeah, that's basically it. But I will talk about the sample tab here. And the sample is very easy. And as you can see here, we have the start of the sample. And let me see if I can play the sample. No, I cannot play, only here in the keys. But yeah, you can see that we can play the sample. Let's see if we can fade out this. We can fade out the sample. Basically, all the tools that we have, for instance, in Editor or Edison, we will have them here. You can see that we have here a right-click menu with a lot of options and a lot of tools that we can basically manipulate the sample how we want. We can select part of the sample and, for instance, add a marker, remove the marker. So we have here the sample, the start sample, and we can move the start point of the sample. Now, instead of starting from that point, now we start at this point, and we can change pretty much where the sample starts, which is also very nice when you are micro editing each sample, which is quite good, or even if you want to change the preset that you are working with. And then here we have the loop options, where we can say where the loop and the loop start and loop end begins and ends. And basically this is useful when you have, let's say you have a instrument, or let's say a lead, for instance, or a synth, and you have a short size of a sample, but you want the sample to loop, because it will give you the sensation that when you press the keys, the sample will play over and over and over. And this is what happens when you are dealing with synthesizers, because synths have oscillators, and when you trigger a key, the oscillator output will always be present as long as you have power in the system, in the synthesizer. And here, because we are working with samples, we can have a short sample to emulate, let's say, a oscillator, and we can loop the oscillator to give the impression that the sound is always being played, when in reality we only have a snippet of the sample. And that's basically it. We have here the loop type. We can say in this case is disabled. We have one shot, forward, sustain, and bounce. Let's go with forward, and we can see where the loop starts and ends. Let's do it like that. And now if I click, it's always looping the same thing over and over again. And we can even end, put here, set the end here. So this is how you can use the loop functions here. And again, we can disable this, and you can have the one shot, which is just one shot, the forward loop, which will go from here to here and then start again. And we can have the sustained, it's pretty much the same, and bounce. The bounce goes back and forward, which is quite nice. It can give you some different type of effects. You can see a different sound now created this back and forward. So again, you see that we have a lot of options here with this loop, and I'm just using this on a kick. If you have, for instance, a synth oscillator or a shape or whatever, you can just loop whatever sound you have to create some more different or characteristic sounds, which is quite nice. And this is basically it, guys. It's a very simple plugin. When you break it down, it can sometimes be a little bit complex to work with, but if you break it down, you will see that it's a very nice and very simple plugin to work with, and it gives you a lot of flexibility dealing with samples and creating these banks or these presets with programs, these instrument programs, where you can create your own sounds or import your own samples and create libraries of sounds. And you can have, for instance, one note to several keys, map them, and they will automatically pitch up or pitch down regarding how much you set the range. And that's basically it, guys. I really like the DirectWave, and yeah, it's a very powerful plugin. You can start creating your own instruments or presets or drum kits or whatever. You can use them here, and it's a very powerful sampler tool. And that's basically it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment below. Also consider supporting my channel by buying one of my products at dailybeats.pt or become a premium or exclusive member, and you will have access to exclusive content about music production. And also you will see more of these crash courses in our blog sections or our tutorial sections, which is also our premium section. So my name is Tiago, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.